Hey, what's up everyone, it's Sleeve here, back to do another GameReplays video. But before we start, I want to take a brief moment to talk about some of the things that have happened during the last few weeks. Now, as you're probably aware of by watching Green Zero's last video, GameReplays.org have done some terrible things. They have removed the 1.02 Plus map pack from view and banned the developer, which is CGF. Now, I'm going to avoid reiterating everything that Green Zero said. Instead, I'm going to look at it from the other point of view, which is GameReplays.org's perspective. I think that GameReplays.org have a legitimate concern over this whole issue because it's in their interest to ensure that maps, not maps, but rather the replays that are downloaded from their website are viewable. And since the dawn of 1.02 Plus map packs, that has been quite an issue because every time a new map pack is released, the older maps replays are all of a sudden not watchable because the newer map packs are not backwards compatible with the older replays. So I'm afraid that this makes a lot of the replays on their website not watchable. So you have to understand that they are quite upset about that. Obviously, them being a website which hosts mainly replays, they should be quite concerned about that whole problem. So you can understand that they are pushing towards a finalization of the patch so they can minimize this whole issue. But coming from my point of view, I think that the map pack should continue to stay in development until, of course, all the main issues have been fixed. I believe that some of the issues are still out there. For example, a few days ago, I was playing a game against Technique, and we discovered a bug where mechapedes could hinder the progress of the Redeemer if it's moving. I mean, all you have to do is put the mechapede in front of the Redeemer and the Redeemer would be stuck there forever unless it targets the head. Now, that is quite a severe bug, and it was only discovered a few days ago. Granted, the game's been out for 5 years, but if bugs are still being discovered today, then that's no reason for the patch that fixes bugs to stop being produced. So that's my whole take on the entire issue. I really think that GameReplays.org needs to make the map pack link visible for starters. I mean, the whole issue to begin with was the administrator was not happy that the maps had the new maps had been added to the ranked map pool, and apparently that was against the consent of the creator, as Green Zero had quoted in his video. Now that is a load of BS in my opinion, because the creator obviously wanted those maps to be played by everyone and such. So yeah, I don't think that's a valid point of theirs. I think that, I mean, the map consultation has now just begun, and it's an overwhelming yes to the maps being voted to be ranked maps. So it's basically a waste of time and a whole load of drama, if you ask me. Anyways, second bit of news I want to talk about is my 500 subs. Whoa, 500 subs! I'm so happy to have gotten so far on YouTube. It's actually a personal achievement for me. I would have never have imagined myself getting 500 subs on YouTube. It is just great overall. That's all I have to say about that. And the last bit of news is some of you have been posting comments to me on YouTube, but for some inexplicable reason I cannot reply to those comments sometimes because YouTube says I don't have the posting rights. For some reason, I honestly do not know why that is, but I hope YouTube fixes these issues out soon because it's getting quite annoying. So apologies if I'm unable to reply to your post. I'll try and answer it in a video. So yeah, I'm sure you are awaiting to get into this VOD. There is a game here for you between harvester4sale and SteveNash, which I will start right now. So let's kickstart this game, shall we? We've got harvester4sale playing as the pink GDI versus SteveNash 13 playing as the red random. We have SteveNash up in the top right hand corner playing as the Nod, or some kind of Nod, while harvester4sale in the bottom, also known as Advanced Noob, or he was previously known as Advanced Noob in the past, He's going to be playing as just vanilla GDI. This was a random versus random matchup, and the map is Smashed Town, USA, a brand new map in the map pool. Quite a beautiful map developed by Predator, who has been pouring tons and tons of time and effort into creating such lovely maps for the community to play on. I do have an issue with some of the maps that he's been creating, but for the most part, they're actually pretty spot on. The issues were mainly that the maps are a bit too big for my liking, the ones that he has designed. I mostly prefer the ones that are modified from the official maps created by EA. For instance, this one here, I definitely adore this map, although Small Town USA I wasn't a great fan of that map to begin with. The middle has been replaced by a blue Tiberium field, which is going to make for some interesting gameplay, and not many garrisonable structures anymore. There are still a few. Some of them are not even garrisonable because they're so damaged. They're almost like ruined structures. But we do now have a scout out for SteveNash. I did not even bother to check out his faction. He is Marked of Cain. So Marked of Cain for SteveNash. He does have his Raider buggies against the Pitbulls. There's no reason for either side to lose their scout in this game because the map is so small that they can go back to they can go nearby to a war factory for repair any time. So there is really no reason for either side to lose their scouts here, especially when both sides are taking minimal damage. Both sides will have 2 uncontested spikes. As you can see, both spikes have been captured pretty easily. Some fences around these spikes here. Going to make this is actually quite a haven for buzzers as they can go into the fences and just kill the engineer while the rifleman squads are out of the line of sight of that buzzer. So you have to watch out for that. These spikes can be a bit more riskier to take against screen factions. You want to make sure that you have scouts to kill enemy buzzers if they are there. But we do have a Raider buggy scout for SteveNash. He will find out that harvester4sale is just going for an eco boom. Second war factory does come up now for harvester4sale. SteveNash, he is eco booming, so both sides going for a pretty standard economy matchup so far. harvester4sale going to make the first move and go for the dual war factory play. Pitbull's now out on the field for Harvester, so he's going to look to do some mild harassment onto SteveNash, although SteveNash has saw it coming and he is building Scorpion tanks to respond to those Pitbulls. But as the map is so small, I do not see the point of spamming light harassment units because there is only 2 or 3 choke points which they can go towards. And drafting Hand of Nods to get the Awakened squads, he's going to garrison this structure here. But ideally he'd want to use that to EMP this Pitbull. Perhaps he could take out that Pitbull there because it was so low on health. We do now have an expansion out for harvester4sale, aka Advanced Noob. I mean, he was known as Advanced Noob in the past. He did reach a final, I believe, in a Conquer Cup tournament, which in those days I guess was much harder to reach finals because the game was far more competitive than it is today. So congrats on that. Quite an achievement actually. Although to my knowledge he did he win? He may have won. He may have won. I need to ask him. Well, he will probably respond to me in the comments saying, okay, yeah, I won. Of course I won that tournament. What are you talking about? So we got here a MCV of SteveNash. He's probably going to be going for a refinery or a tech. That's building way too slowly to be a refinery, so I can assume it's going to be a tech. So many not predators, but rather Scorpion tanks now out on the field for SteveNash, and he's going for beam cannons. So he's probably going to be going for his obelisks and charge them up with beam cannons. That's the only thing I see him doing here. But against the tier 1 armor of harvester4sale, how is it going to work out here? These predator tanks have been sitting around doing nothing for a large amount of time. They could have been doing some much needed harassment onto this MCV here, but it may be too late as the Obelisk of Light is ready to be dropped, unless it's another base defense, but I doubt it because he does have a tech lab up. And there we go, Obelisk of Light on the front line here. He could even use these EMP Awakened to EMP these tanks and just prevent the passage of these tanks from going into the base. But using the silos to block his Obelisk of Light from being destroyed. Excellent move there by SteveNash. He's going to also charge them up with beam cannons just to grant some extra range and rate of fire. Redeemer Engineering Facility does come up on the front line. How will these Scorpion tanks fare up against these Predator tanks? I don't know, but they're getting destroyed here by the superior army of the Scorpion tanks. There's just so many Predator tanks there, and this Redeemer Engineering Facility desperately needs to get fenced here. He does have his operations center. He could definitely afford to fence this Redeemer Engineering Facility, because I can see harvester4sale targeting that first. It is his utmost priority to take care of this Redeemer Engineering Facility, because the Redeemer could be quite devastating here, as he only has a bunch of tier 1 units, and against the armor of the Redeemer it's not going to be anywhere near enough, unless you can overwhelm it by like a ton of Predator tanks. But this Obelisk of Light doing a good amount of damage here. He's going to EMP some of those tanks, and 2 Obelisks now on the front line. I don't think it's a wise idea of harvester4sale just to expend these forces against static base defenses. He should definitely have retreated sooner. And where is his MCV? Has he lost his MCV? Did he sell his MCV, or did he expand to the other field? No, he has expanded to the other field. So great foresight there by harvester4sale in moving that MCV upon scouting the tech lab of his opponent there. So a great move there by harvester4sale. He's got his expansion already set up. SteveNash, he's got his expansion set up. He's done a great job in defending against those Predator tanks. And now the game has come to a stall. Both sides are probably going to go for an eco, although I'd say SteveNash to be in a superior position at the moment. He does have his ref up sooner and a tech advantage. We can see SteveNash go for a Redeemer Engineering Facility soon, as he does have that tech advantage. And a Redeemer will be very hard for harvester4sale to take care of in this economic position. Both sides still have possession of their Tiberium spikes. And what is harvester4sale going to be transitioning into? He could go for some Orcas. Orcas wouldn't be a bad choice really against MoK, because they're actually decent against stealth tanks and overall against any form of armor. He does have to watch out though for the Venoms, which the MoK do get good Venoms. They get the charged particle beams. But we do have the Pitbulls going to take a swipe at that power plant there, but deciding not to take it out. That could be a great target for harvester4sale if he had taken out that power plant. Just realizing that now he's going to take out that power plant. SteveNash, meanwhile, what is he doing? He's going for a Redeemer of his own. harvester4sale getting a good economy up there. Only 1 refinery. He needs to desperately get another refinery up there immediately. He's not looking to be in a good position here. He's going for Orcas. The power plant does get taken out, and the Pitbulls have made their retreat, going towards the bottom Tiberium field here to take care of this Scorpion tank. harvester4sale is definitely vulnerable to a 1-click right now. If SteveNash went for a 1-click, then he could have devastated all these harvesters. But luckily, harvester4sale not getting 1-click there. He was definitely vulnerable to that for a second, but SteveNash instead opted to go for the Redeemer Engineering Facility, not having that Redeemer just out yet. But it will be on its way. harvester4sale does have his Orcas. He's got 3 Orcas. Probably going to be doing some harassment on these power plants, although he has to watch out for this refinery, which does grant build radius. SteveNash can place base defenses around it, especially the not the charge, but rather the Tiberium core base defenses, which will be extremely devastating to these Orcas. Obelisk of Light comes out to defend up against these Pitbulls, but it's not really worth to take out this refinery here. It's got a fence on it, and it's going to have incredible amount of health, because it has now got the repair tool on it. Redeemer now out on the field for SteveNash, and he's probably going to be queuing some stealth tanks. Stealth tanks won't be a bad choice, to be honest, but seeing how this is such a small map and closed, then I guess not. The stealth tanks wouldn't be a bad idea really to harass harvesters going to leech the blue Tiberium field. harvester4sale doing a good job in leeching that blue Tiberium field, probably what's keeping him in the game at the moment. He does have 4 Orcas. He could get the hard points. Does he have hard points? No, he does not have hard points, but I'd say this is not going to be hard points or any upgrade. Probably going to be going for some hammerheads here to get that anti-infantry. That's good on him, because he realizes that he has no form of anti-infantry here. SteveNash can definitely go into infantry spam and hard counter everything that harvester4sale has. But these Predator tanks look like they're going to outposition this Redeemer. They're going to attack the rear of SteveNash's base. This tech is in a vulnerable position here. Is he going to lose both of his tech structures? Most likely, as the Orcas have rocked up to the party, and they're going to take out this tech lab here. Taking out the operations center first was a great move there by harvester4sale, because he just denied defense on that tech lab there. And the Redeemer has showed up, but a bit too late, as these Predator tanks will escape the range of the Rage Generator, and he may get one shot off on that Predator, but not quite doing so there. Tib Trooper trying to slow down the forces, but that's not going to work. Predators moving across the blue Tiberium field. Definitely not a good idea against Nod. For obvious reasons, that Tib field can be detonated by one of their support powers. But SteveNash not going to be so brutal and going for those one clicks. Instead, he's going to be quite gentle and play admirably, I guess. Not going for the one clicks. Bombing the secret shrine. That could be quite an issue for harvester4sale if SteveNash decides to make his base invisible by using the disruption towers. Where is the Redeemer? The Redeemer has ventured its way somewhere. I mean, he had it up there. There it is. It's at this field here. He could do some poking into harvester4sale's base, but since he's MoK, he doesn't have the flamethrower on it, so it won't be nearly as effective against structures as the Black Hand / Nod Redeemer. So it will be mainly used against these armored forces here, which he does have railguns. harvester4sale does have the railgun upgrade, so he's invested into his tech, into his railguns. How will that fare up against the armor of the MoK, though? The MoK can just EMP those forces. They do have access to the Enlightened squads, but here we go. Enlightened being trained by SteveNash, so he's looking to EMP those forces, but as he sees those hammerheads there, all the stealth tanks may be able to snipe them down before they are able to claim any Enlightened here. That is a terrible waste there by harvester4sale, just barely being able to save that hammerhead there from the destruction of the stealth tank. The stealth tank will make its way into the base here. Of course, it will provide some vital anti-infantry cover. This Redeemer can afford to take out this Rifleman squad here using its hard point. In 1.02 plus, the Redeemer can shoot and move using the Tib Trooper squad. Unlike 1.02, where the Redeemer had to stay still in order to use that Tib Trooper squad inside of it, which kind of sucked. It made the Redeemer really bad. The DPS overall, the Redeemer is really bad in MoK with MoK because the Tib Trooper does hardly any damage. It is used to slow down enemy forces, I guess. That's one good thing about it, but overall the Flame Squad is way better in every way, in my opinion. Sonic Emitter gets thrown down. Scan goes off to try and detect this Redeemer. This Redeemer has no escape here unless it goes towards the south, which SteveNash has not scanned there, so the Redeemer can escape, but not quite doing so there, deciding to fight until the last bit of health. And I'm afraid that that was a huge blow for SteveNash, although he was able to get the refinery. I wouldn't be surprised to see a one-click anytime soon by SteveNash. That would definitely put him back in this game if he was able to tip vein all those Scorpion tanks there. Tiberium regrowing up in the top for SteveNash, so SteveNash does have a backup plan. He does have some Tiberium there to harvest. And what was that? That was a one click. Oh, getting a refinery there. So now harvester4sale's harvesting operations have been halted. He does have two refineries over here though, so he's not completely out of it just yet. His harvesters can long distance harvest this Tiberium field. Actually, I don't even think it's worth throwing down another refinery here, as there is no Tiberium for him to harvest there. Predators going to be making their way towards the top of the map. They're going to find some upgraded power plants here for them to take out. None of them are upgraded except this one here, but that will definitely be a huge blow if SteveNash is losing power up in the top. How much power does he have in this expansion? He's got two upgraded power plants there hidden, so it's not going to be that deadly. These Predator tanks can definitely afford to take out these power plants here. The Marv is EMP, taking a lot of damage from the minefield. This manning minefield's doing a considerable amount of damage. It is slightly bugged though. If you EMP units moving on a magnetic minefield, that unit will not stop taking damage until it is relieved from EMP. May need to alert ZGF to fix that bug there, because it is quite bad, and that Marv will get destroyed in a matter of moments by that magnetic minefield. So good job there by SteveNash, getting a 1-up by killing that Marv. His Redeemer is just coming out now. He does have his tech, his Tiberium chemical plant. He'll want to keep a hold of that so he can use that Seed Tiberium field, which definitely does keep Nod in the late game by using that Seed Tiberium ability. Blue Tiberium field has regrown in the middle. here, so either side can afford to harvest that blue Tiberium field. We do have Vertigos here. They're going to probably be intent on bombing some harvesters, maybe get this harvester in the dock here, but it seems like harvester4sale is onto it. He's moving his harvester outside of the dock there. He knows that something's up, but these Vertigo bombers are just flying over them, and is he going to bomb anything? As long as these harvesters are continuing to move, it's going to be hard for them to do any damage, but the tip vane does go off for SteveNash, able to claim all of those harvesters. Ouch, that has got to hurt for harvester4sale, managing to save one harvester there. Again, the blue field is regrowing. I think that SteveNash will have a safer time in harvesting this blue Tiberium field because his harvesters are cloaked, and he is in less danger of losing them because of their stealth abilities. Some sniper teams getting cleaned up there by the Venom, which is nice work indeed by SteveNash. I'm not sure how harvester4sale was going to use those sniper teams. He had no juggernauts for long distance bombardment. Actually, he does have juggernauts, so perhaps that's what he was doing. He was hoping to do some long distance bombardment with that with those juggernauts there. But we do now have Firehawks out on the field for harvester4sale. He's got 2 Firehawks and 2 Orcas. Those Orcas could use the sensor pod upgrade so he can detect enemy stealth units, which there are a ton of at the moment. He does have 4 Vertigos. SteveNash has stealth tanks as far as I know as well. Harvesters obviously stealthed, and Vertigos. Firehawk does come in. Does he know that the Vertigos there, or more to the point, does he know? Does he have them detected by some form of stealth detection? No, he doesn't. But we do have Vertigos going to be bombing the refinery, getting a refinery there, losing 1 Vertigo in the process, but that doesn't matter. The damage has been done. Firehawks just flying over these Vertigos. Those Vertigos lucky to have escaped those Firehawks. And the Redeemer coming in towards harvester4sale's base for the second time, this time with a rocket squad inside of it. We're going to have to wait and see what kind of damage that's going to do. And how is harvester4sale going to respond to that Redeemer? Firehawk getting shot down there. He does have his Marv out on the field, as well as 2 Juggernauts. He could mass more Juggernauts, but looking at his Tiberium situation here, he doesn't have much in the form of harvesting. He is looking pretty dry, and the blue Tiberium field is being leached by him, so that will keep him funded to take care of this Marv. I mean, this Redeemer rather. He could go for the Space Command uplink and try and at least attempt to EMP this Redeemer. The rocket squad inside of it will do a pitiful amount of damage to the tech. Stealth tank does come in to support this Redeemer, but what can it do against the Marv? We do have some Enlightened here by SteveNash, but the sniper team may be able to take care of them out before any damage, any form of real damage is done. Reckonet on the front line here for SteveNash, and getting 2 EMPs off. That's very nice work indeed. Vertigo bombers coming in to take out this Marv. Stealth tanks attacking it, not going to the rear armor, and this Marv all of a sudden is looking to be in a very dangerous position here. It's lost half of its health in a split second, and stealth tanks attacking it. The overwhelming DPS of the stealth tank will make short work of the Marv if the Marv doesn't focus down the stealth tanks here, which he's not focusing on. harvester4sale could have definitely taken out that stealth tank there. Missed opportunity there by harvester4sale. Stylo's trying to block this Marv. Will this Marv escape? It's not looking too great for harvester4sale here. He needs to cube more silos to building block this Redeemer from destroying the Marv. One more shot and I reckon the Marv can... Oh, barely. The rockets just... The Marv just escapes there, and that was an incredibly nice save there by harvester4sale. It's not quite just over yet, as more Enlightened squads are here to EMP this Marv. Is he going to get an EMP off? No, he doesn't. The APM Watchtower is just barely able to stop that Enlightened squad from EMPing the Marv. Can this Redeemer destroy the Marv in time before it goes down? These Juggernauts desperately trying to shell this Redeemer. The Marv again surviving these Juggernauts. Not the Juggernauts, but the Redeemer. And excellent job there by harvester4sale. And the Vertigo bombers getting taken out by the Firehawks. The Pitbulls there just at the right time to take out those Vertigos as they were en route to destroy this Marv. And the Marv, extremely nice save there by harvester4sale. That could have put him back in this game. He does have tons and tons of Tiberium as well to harvest. And I think that SteveNash just totally caked this game here. He's got nothing anymore. He's got 2 Vertigos at least, so he can... Actually, he's only got 1 Vertigo. So he can attempt to bomb these Juggernauts. This Marv is in desperate need of repairs. He could go by to this Reclaimer hub and get some free repairs on that Marv there. Definitely what he needs to push into the base of Phoenix. He does have a well-fortified base. 2 obelisks guarding this choke point against enemy vehicles. as well as an obelisk here to defend off against those pesky pitbulls that have been raiding SteveNash's base throughout this game. Predator tanks, where did he get those Predator tanks from? They must have been sitting here doing nothing for so long, unless he managed to train them somehow. I did not even know he had that many tanks there. And pitbulls as well to detect the harvesters. You could go for this refinery here. If he took out the refinery, then SteveNash will no longer have a build radius there and no way to place additional base defenses such as the Obelisk of Light to defend off against these Predator tanks. And the refinery is so close to getting destroyed there. Meanwhile, what is happening? We do have the Marv getting some nice repairs there. 2 refineries have been established now for harvester4sale. So harvester4sale getting his economy back up on track. He could transfer some harvesters over there unless that's all he has in terms of harvesters. He's got 2 harvesters here, so he can send those to this Tiberium field. Airfield getting taken out. Not sure if any aircraft were docked on it. I do not think so. The Firehawks may have gotten destroyed by those Vertigo bombers, so that could have been a good move there by SteveNash. And the Tiberium chemical plant getting powered down there. Not sure if abilities can recharge if your Tiberium chemical plant is powered down. As far as I know, the abilities just do not... the timer doesn't go down on your abilities once it's powered down for some reason. But please rectify me in the comments if that is not the case. We do now have tons and tons of pitbulls for harvester4sale. He's going to try and take out some of these harvesters here. He does not want to expend any of those forces, although it doesn't really matter for him because he's got so much harvesters and Tiberium that he can mass so many units to counter SteveNash. And SteveNash, is he going to get this Redeemer to destroy more pitbulls? He's got 2 engineers in this Marv and this Redeemer this time, so looking to use that Redeemer as a brute force unit against these Juggernauts and Marv, but the Marv has gotten full repairs. He could definitely push into the base of SteveNash. SteveNash rebuilding all of his Vertigos, seeing how the threat of Firehawks is gone, and bombing the Juggernauts there, which is very nice indeed. He may get one more shot off. Yes, takes out that Juggernaut, but the thing is, there is a husk which harvester4sale could pick up on and take out immediately. Yeah, he's going to rebuild that engineer, so those Vertigos are failing to accomplish much except for getting experience, but that Vertigo getting stuck and sniped down by those pitbulls. So unfortunately for SteveNash, losing his Vertigo bombers, not causing as much damage as he would have liked. So much harvesting operations going on now in this base for harvester4sale. And SteveNash no longer has a refinery at this field, so he is now just stuck on one base. He is stuck in this corner here. He could go for a nuclear missile. Perhaps that would be a good idea for him, but instead opting to move his MCV back to this field here. He's doing a good job in leeching it, so I'm not sure if it was a wise idea of moving that MCV. Perhaps he wants an extended build radius so you can place base defenses. The Redeemer is now here for SteveNash. He may get a kill on this refinery, and I'm surprised he hasn't used his 1-clicks yet. That Catalyst missile would have definitely been recharged by now. He does have his chem plant recharged, not recharged, but still up and operational. If we go to his view, you can see that those abilities have been grayed out because the chemical plant is offline. So we will not know if the chemical plant's abilities are ready to be used. And getting a Juggernaut there, but again, what does it really matter? Because harvester4sale can drop down a barracks and take that husk back immediately with an engineer. Hand of Nod does get sold there to kill some of those tanks, or rather to get an Awakened Squad to delay those tanks with the EMP ability. But he's desperately trying to get some infantry up, knowing SteveNash he'll be training Fanatics, but that's not quite going to work. 2 magnetic mine drops right next to each other. Those tanks will not want to venture into those mines there. And the Obelisk here, it has found the Marv, but the Marv is going to just steamroll into this base. He can delay it for some time with Awakened Squads, but with the Hammerheads now out on the field for harvester4sale, it's looking very, very grim for SteveNash at the moment. He does have 3 Vertigos. The Redeemer, which is here, it's on full health. These Juggernauts could definitely be needed to attack this Marv and prevent this Marv from getting destroyed and isolated here. This is looking terribly bad for harvester4sale. Is he going to lose his advantage just like SteveNash did? Yes, he most likely will, but getting 2 crushes on those harvesters and a stealth tank kill, that stealth tank barely managing to escape that Marv there. So a nice sum of damage done by by harvester4sale, although losing his Marv unnecessarily. 2 stealth tanks for SteveNash. So SteveNash, he's the one with the epic unit now. How is harvester4sale going to make a comeback now? He's got 4 Firehawks, so he is in no danger of those Vertigos, as the Vertigos have all been taken out. Going for Venoms here to try and counter these Hammerheads, but he's already got anti-aircraft in the form of stealth tanks, which are incredibly good, even against Pitbulls. Is he going to get these Pitbulls before the stealth tank is destroyed? No, not quite. He needs to micro his Hammerheads away from that SAM turret there, as they're getting picked off by it. And yeah, losing all those Hammerheads unnecessarily. Poor micro there by harvester4sale, and these zone troopers getting called in by the zone raider drop pod, or zone trooper drop pod. That ability costs $4,500, and he's going to lose all of them to 3 Venoms. So terrible there by harvester4sale. He had Firehawks, which he could have used to support those zone troopers, and he could have gotten them into a Marv, which he has back out on the field. The Venoms will do some vital scouting information for SteveNash. He'll find that the Marv is back out on the field. This Redeemer may want to stay clear of this battle base, as the battle base has the ability to detect the Redeemer, but I don't think the Redeemer is cloaked. SteveNash not having the funds to cloak his Redeemer. He could use the Vertigo disruption pod to cloak his Redeemer if he so desired. It's a cheaper method, but the pod does expire after like 2 minutes, so maybe not such a good idea. So many silos in harvester4sale's base. It's got like a wall of silos. Yeah. Going to reclaim that husk. Not a bad decision of his to have done that. The Redeemer once again going to make its way into the base. There's only 2 Juggernauts here to defend off against this Redeemer. Is the Marv going to make its way to defend that base of his? Most likely not. It is way out of position. Sonic Emitter does get thrown down on the front line. Sonic Emitters can shoot over buildings, so he'll be fine. He just needs to power it up here so it can get some shots off on this Redeemer. What is happening here? Venom going into the base. Does SteveNash have any one-clicks in mind? He has powered up his tip chem plant, so he's probably looking to use a catalyst missile. A space command uplink does get thrown down there by harvester4sale, so he's probably going to use the shockwave artillery on this Redeemer. Seeing how not harvester4sale, but SteveNash doesn't have the nuclear missile, he cannot relieve this Redeemer from EMP. I've been watching Bike stream lately, and he's been using that master computer countermeasures ability of the Temple of Nod to restore his EMP affected units back to normal. He shows us that it's actually very good against GDI, where they use the shockwave, and if you use that ability, it basically counters the shockwave, which is very nice indeed. GDI players are not too happy about that. And of course the shockwave artillery. The problem with the shockwave is that it's entirely random. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't hit. It's got a 99% chance of hitting a Marv though in GDI mirrors, because the Marv is just so big and it really cannot dodge EMP shells. But the Juggernaut's trying to shell down these bike buggies. SteveNash going to be transitioning into the bike buggies. This blue field has been playing quite a significant role in this game for allowing one player to recover. I think that harvester4sale has harvested a considerable amount of that field there, but we do now have 3 to 4 bikes going into the base. There's APM watchtowers. APM towers should be enough to scare off these bikes here. I don't think that SteveNash can afford to lose them. He may want to take out this husk, leave 1 or 2 bikes behind just to take out the husk. That's entirely worth it for him. But using the raider buggies, which is a smart move indeed. Is he going to get the husk? Yes, just quite getting the husk there. 4 spikes still up on the field, surprisingly. The Firehawks could be used to bomb the spikes. 4 Firehawks are all that's needed to destroy spikes. The rage goes off, getting a nice chunk of damage off on harvester4sale's tanks there. But anyways, as I was saying, the Firehawks can take out these spikes in 1 bombing run. So harvester4sale hasn't picked up on that just yet. That has been fueling SteveNash's economy, but SteveNash just losing his base. I can assume that his tip chem plant got destroyed there by those Firehawks, and those Firehawks doing a considerable amount of damage to his base. 2 of them have ventured to veteran, so that's nice usage of the Firehawks there by harvester4sale. harvester4sale moving in with the Marv. He's going to find that again there's only a Redeemer up in the top. It's not stealthed, so he doesn't have to bring along any stealth detection. He could definitely afford to get some hammerheads out in the field just to prevent those awakened squads from disabling these units, which MoK is extremely good at. But the Marv It's just going to detect these magnetic mines. It's just the infantry here. Infantry can detect mines if you didn't know. And what was that? That was a huge EMP throw there by those awakened. But it's not going to delay the MAV for very long. It's going to just disable it for 5 seconds. But we do now have EMP buggies coming in. Do they have EMP coils? Yes, they do. SteveNash, what are you doing? You need to EMP this MAV immediately. What are you doing? That's terrible micro there by SteveNash. He could have gotten a nice EMP off on that Redeemer there and had it constantly EMP'd. So harvester4sale being lucky there, not supporting his MAV very great. I mean, he had 3 Predator tanks there, but luckily for him, SteveNash didn't micro his EMP buggies to have EMP that Redeemer. Not the Redeemer, but rather the MAV. So much Tiberium now on the field. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I think the fields in these maps regrow slightly faster than the official 1.02 maps. But that could be just me there. They do grow very, very, very quickly, especially this blue field in the middle. I've been seeing it regrow like 6 to 7 times in this game already. And another rage goes off. Oh, wow, that is devastating. The MAV causing so much damage there. His entire army just got knocked out by a single rage generator. And here we go. The EMPs go off and the MAV gets disabled. Incredibly good rage gen by not harvester4sale, but SteveNash. And SteveNash just absolutely annihilating that army there. SteveNash choosing to use his real name instead of his Smurf accounts this time, for once. And this MAV will get some shots off on the rear armor, which is not good to see for harvester4sale. harvester4sale, what does he have incoming to support this MAV? He's got Predator tank streaming into the base, but the MAV, is it going to survive? Both epic units are incredibly low on health. He just needs to ensure that these Raider buggies don't go in again for another EMP. The MAV, it can afford to chase down the Redeemer. Another rage goes off. Oh, that rage has been causing so much damage. Crazy. And this MAV, again, doing so much damage. I won't be surprised if it goes veteran anytime soon after destroying so many of its own units. Epic units do get experience while under the influence of rage. So if you destroy, for example, your own tripod with a hexapod, that hexapod will get experience. So in some cases it's not actually a good idea. For example, when a hexapod's elite and you rage it, it's not exactly a good idea to do that in some scenarios, as you could be feeding that experience to the hexapod and it could go heroic. So sometimes that rage generator is not going to be used that good. But we do now have 2 Firehawks going to be bombing this Obelisk of Light, taking it out, as the veterans see. Just being able to barely take it out. He did lose one of his veteran Firehawks, so he's only got 1 Firehawk left on the field. And this game is incredibly long, if I do say so myself. Both the spikes have been taken out, which is nice. So harvester4sale does have 2 spikes, which will definitely fund his economy. He's still got Tiberium. I mean, he could move his MCV up to that top field there to secure his win, because SteveNash has been just pushed into a little corner here. He's getting bombed to death though by these Firehawks, and he's actually bothered to invest in not the hard points, but the Stratofighter booster. Definitely helping those Firehawks survive multiple times against those base defenses by being able to teleport out there as soon as they drop their bombs. But these Firehawks here, what are you doing, buddy? You have to use those Firehawks. They're just doing nothing, and he may lose both of them here, not paying attention, getting 3 bombs off on that Operation Center. Barely. The Operation Center lives, and the Firehawks did get taken out there, so not the greatest attention being paid in the world by harvester4sale. harvester4sale does have his MCV. He's looking to keep that MCV alive. I can see that Redeemer wanted to take out that MCV if he knows about it. The MAV getting some repairs up by that war factory. So, I mean, harvester4sale is doing a good job in retaining his epic units in this game. One being barely able to survive previously. It was on the verge of going down, but using those silos to maximum effect, being able to building block that Redeemer from just being barely able to take it out. And as you can see, that definitely did pay off for him in this game. There was an article that was wrote recently by, I think it was some random GameReplays.org staff member, that person said that silos are never used effectively in this game, and this replay kind of shows that that is entirely wrong, because silos do have multiple uses. They're especially good at blocking Reckoners, if you didn't know. But we do have the Redeemer getting a nice rage gen off there. SteveNash is the king of rage generators in this game. He's just using that Redeemer to constantly inflict tons and tons of damage on his opponent's army. But again, he's going to be supporting his Redeemer, his Marv, with Predator tanks. Not sure if that's a good idea. It's very prone to getting raged once again. He's going to take out those magnetic mines, which I think have been there for the last like 20 minutes or so. And yeah, I mean, there's only one Redeemer for SteveNash to defend off against these units here. It may be a matter of time before SteveNash is going to lose this game, but we're going to have to wait and see. The Marv is going in for the kill. It does not have any veterancy on it. And bombing power plants there, which is a good decision there by harvester4sale, going for the Enlighten. So SteveNash looking to use those Enlighten to disable his opponent's Marv. Any wrong decisions here made by harvester4sale could cost him this game, but he does have a refinery set up here at this Tiberium field. He has tons and tons of Tiberium, and he's probably going to be going for more and more tanks to reinforce his army and seal the deal with this one. And SteveNash, I imagine he's going to be desperately trying to do some damage here. A Sonic Emitter for defense. I reckon that could get sold off by harvester4sale if he wants to get some much needed resources. The blue Tiberium field regrowing in the middle. Either side can afford to send some units there to get it. But going for hammerheads here, which he needs to take care of the Enlightened, obviously. But SteveNash is just going to be camping in this base here, waiting for the ideal time to strike, I guess. I mean, he's out of Tiberium, so he cannot exactly mass an army to contend with harvester4sale's army. So he's just going to have to hope that harvester4sale makes a profound error here and attacks the base and lose most of his units somehow. EMP is going to be a huge problem though for the GDI player. Steel Talons actually do a better job against MoK because they get the adaptive armor, so that adaptive armor pretty useful because it can absorb EMP. It actually confers EMP immunity, so those Titans and Mammoths would be much more ideal in this situation here. But SteveNash, he does have a veteran Redeemer with a GDI insignia, which is rather funny. It's a bug that only occurs in the replays. Never happens in the game though when you're playing. As with many bugs in replays. One person asked me what was that fence bug in that game me and Phoenix casted. That's just a bug that occurs only in replays. You would never actually see that in game unless you're in observer mode. Maybe, perhaps, I don't know. But we do have a big attack here by harvester4sale, not bringing his Marv along to the fight. The Marv is just sitting here doing nothing and getting a nice EMP blast off there. Phoenix, he could definitely afford to take out these tanks here. The Redeemer not doing anything though. Getting some lasers off on those units there. harvester4sale, what are you doing? Send this Marv to attack this Redeemer. You're just letting your forces die here for no reason whatsoever. And oh no, this is terrible here for harvester4sale. harvester4sale, he may have just left the keyboard. What is he doing? He's lost his entire army there to a handful of EMP equipped units, I'm afraid. But the zone trooper drop pod does come in, and he's going to attempt to bomb SteveNash out of the game. But he only needs one shredder turret to take care of these zone troopers. Surprisingly, not investing in the supercharged particle beam upgrade, which MoK definitely do get to take full advantage of. It grants their shredder turrets an insane boost of damage and makes their enlightened and venoms far more useful at their cause. And again, using the late game fireworks here, he must assume that he's won this game, and he's setting up a refinery at the blue Tiberium field. So he's just winning this game right now. We do have a MCV on the move for SteveNash. What can he possibly hope to do in this situation? I do not know. But we're going to have to wait and see. Hammerheads being deployed by harvester4sale. He does have four Firehawks. He can afford to go around the base and destroy all of these power plants there. Even the the Hand of Nod. They all get one-shotted by the Firehawks with a hardpoint upgrade. But there is no anti-air here for SteveNash. He's scratched that. He does have 3 bikes, but some of them are wounded. He's probably going to be going for more attack bikes here, attempting to pull off a final stand against harvester4sale, but it's not going to work out because he does have juggernauts here to shell him, but making full use of the enlightened squads. But the shockwave does come in and it nails all of those enlightened there, and he finishes off the remainder of the enlightened with the hammerhead. Extremely nice play there by harvester4sale, and I imagine he does have his Marv en route to the base to take care of the remainder of the buildings. He only has 3 buildings to destroy. The Firehawks should be able to take care of all of them, and just 1 building remaining for SteveNash. He only has a Redeemer, but it is completely powerless against what harvester4sale does have, and harvester4sale banking a lot of money, so he obviously asserts that he's won this game. And again, this will be GG. So what an insanely good game this one was on the new map Smashtown USA. I did enjoy watching this one indeed, and some interesting tactics used by both sides. GDI versus MoK on Smashtown USA rather. Interesting game, 41 minutes in length. Blimey, that is such a long game. I thought it was going to be half an hour or so, judging by how SteveNash played. But SteveNash making an incredibly good resistance in the end, being able to hold off for longer than expected. harvester4sale leapfrogging ahead after, I think the game-changing moment of that game was when harvester4sale was barely able to save his Marv against SteveNash. SteveNash was desperately trying to get that Marv in the end, but it did not quite work out for him. A bit of misfortune there for SteveNash. Units trained for either side. Both had similar stats, really. Okay, we do have harvester4sale, who did get a superior kill-to-death ratio. His favorite unit was a Predator tank, awakened for SteveNash. As far as economy goes, harvester4sale was ahead throughout the most part. And tons and tons of action in that game, really. It was non-stop since the beginning. So that was an incredibly good game there by both of these players. Hope you all enjoyed this video. And this is Marsleaf. I'll see you all next time. Peace out.